All right, everyone, today we're going to talk about photosynthesis a little bit and get into some details. So let's start here. Photosynthesis is how autotrophs, you might remember, self-energy, or we could say producers, get sugar. They make their own sugar. They don't have to eat other things. So just as a review, it takes 6 carbon dioxides and 6 waters to make a glucose molecule, okay? This is the sugar that the plants are making for themselves. Also, what happens is oxygen is made, which is a byproduct. The oxygen is released from the plant. Plant doesn't need it immediately. So another thing, this could not happen. These ingredients could not be made into this glucose here without energy input from the sun. Okay, so we need energy in order to build something. And so we're using the sun's energy, or the plants are using the sun's energy to make that happen. Okay. All right, cool. That's just a little review. Let's keep going. Now, I just want to try to make it seem that like this is not actually that difficult to remember, because you are going to need to know the formula. And so like a lot of these things you already know. You can just ask yourself, what does a plant need? Well, you've probably heard that plants need CO2. You hopefully know that plants need water. Learn that at a young age. And then we also know, well, maybe this one is new, but plants make carbohydrates, which is what the glucose is, C6H12O6. And so maybe that's new, but that's just one. And you probably also know that plants make oxygen. Okay, so really that's not all that hard. And the light comes in, you can kind of write the light right here by the arrow, because the light is needed to turn these ingredients into these. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, I want to impress upon you how important plants producers are to ecosystems, right? So we're in ecology still. We're talking about photosynthesis because it is really important for the energy flow in a whole ecosystem. So you'll see at the bottom of an energy pyramid here that plants or producers are at the bottom. Okay, so we have producers at the bottom, and they provide energy for this level, for the snails, right? And some energy moves on from the snails to the frogs, and then from the frogs to the foxes. So every time one of those things eats another thing, energy flows from one level to another. And at the bottom here, we have plants, we have producers. And that's really important because producers have the power of photosynthesis, right? So here's this question. How does energy get into the ecosystem in the first place? How does it get in the ecosystem in the first place? Well, it's because plants can harness the power of the sun. That's actually really cool. Animals can't do that, right? So if we didn't have if we didn't have plants, the sun would maybe like warm everything up, but it wouldn't allow life on Earth to exist as it does, because plants harness the energy and turn it into biomass, which is how plants grow, and then other things can eat plants. So plants and photosynthesis really are enabling ecosystems to exist because they can harness the power from the sun. Okay, so there's some important stuff. Let's write that down. Now we're going to get into some details of photosynthesis. So I kind of want to just zoom in from a leaf to show you what exactly we're talking about and where we're looking. So here's our leaf, and in each leaf you probably have thousands and thousands of plant cells. And so all of these plant cells, let me write that. Okay, so this is a plant cell. All of these plant cells have a bunch of different organelles inside. They have different functioning parts, kind of like our human bodies or any animal has functioning organs. So this guy is a chloroplast, and that is what we're looking at here. So that is one of the organelles. Chloroplast is what makes the plant green, actually, because they are green. They have this pigment called chlorophyll. So that is what we're going to be looking at. So let me flip to the next slide. And in this next slide, so we are still looking at a chloroplast, but just kind of a diagram of a chloroplast. So notice these green stacks of pancakes right there. That is what all of these things are, okay? All of these are the pancakes. That's going to be an important part. And then, And then all of this empty space out here, okay, around those pancakes, that is all of this space here that is between the pancakes, okay? So I'm going to actually draw this for you, and you guys are going to follow along, but we're not going to draw this one. I'm going to make a couple modifications to make it a little bit easier. So hang on with me. All right, so now we're going to be drawing on this guy, okay? So this is the same thing. So these are the pancakes right there, and then all of the space is what we're looking at, and this is a chloroplast. Okay, so we're going to be talking about two things. So light and dark reactions. Photosynthesis is kind of split up into two different parts, light and dark reactions. So the light reactions happen in the stack of pancakes, and then the dark reactions happen in the space outside of it. And we can also call it the Calvin cycle because somebody named whatever Calvin invented it. So that's the Calvin cycle is also the dark reactions. Okay, so the light reactions, as you would expect, deals directly with light. Okay, it deals directly with light, and so the light comes in and hits these pancakes. Okay, over the course of this talk right here, I'm going to talk about all of the different things that are in the equation, so you can see where all those come into play in the chloroplast specifically. So the light hits these things, and then what we also are going to have, I'm going to try and color coordinate this, is we have water. Okay, and so water is going to come in, and it is also going to go into the chloroplast, right? And they both enter with the light reactions. So the goal of the light reactions is to make something, an energy carrying molecule called ATP. Okay, and ATP, as I said, is just an energy carrying molecule. So what I want you guys to do, you're going to probably need to pause this and catch up with me. But for right now, I'm going to draw like a full battery symbol. Okay, so I got a full battery symbol. Because that's what ATP is. It's a full energy carrying molecule. And the goal of the light reaction is to make that ATP so it's energy, and that energy is going to be delivered to the Calvin cycle. And what's going to happen at the Calvin cycle, this is really the whole goal of photosynthesis, is to make glucose. Okay, so that is C6H12O6. All right, so we don't make glucose out of nothing, though. What we're going to do is make it out of carbon dioxide. And so carbon dioxide, what color did I make that? This one. So CO2 also comes in here to the chloroplast, goes into the Calvin cycle. ATP supplies the energy to turn CO2 into glucose. And that's basically it, right? So that's like kind of the whole goal. I'm missing a couple things here, but we'll fill those in right now. So after the energy carrying molecule ATP is used in the Calvin cycle to provide energy, it is now empty. We don't just get rid of that ATP. It turns into something called ADP, okay, which is its empty form. So I'm going to draw here an empty battery. Wow, this is not that good. That's kind of messy. So here is an empty battery signal. Hopefully you can do better than that. And so then it's empty now. It goes back into the light reactions, and it is repowered, and it gets full again. It gets recharged, and then it can continue going to the Calvin cycle and giving energy to the Calvin cycle to make CO2 into sugar. Okay. The last thing over here that we need to do is one final byproduct. This byproduct is O2. O2 is made also. So you can see that we filled in all of the different parts from the equation, right? Water and carbon dioxide go into the chloroplast. So water, carbon dioxide go into the chloroplast, and O2 and sugar come out of it, okay? All right, cool. So that might be kind of confusing. So I just want to give you one last thing, which is an analogy, okay? For the Calvin cycle, for the dark reactions. And I think I mentioned this before, but I like this analogy. CO2 is going to be like cake mix. Okay. And the sugar, that's the whole goal of putting cake mix together, is to make a cake, right? And the Kelvin cycle is like, let's say it's like the oven, right? But the oven needs power. The oven needs electricity to turn on. And so we get that electricity from ATP. So this ATP is like electricity, right? But the electricity will run out unless we have like a good source, right? And so this doesn't really work as well with the analogy, but the light reactions is kind of like having a solar panel, right? So light reactions over here, and light, I'll just say it's kind of like a solar panel, and that continues to power the oven, which turns our cake mix into cake. Okay, so I hope that doesn't make it more confusing. Hopefully it should help. So thank you very much. That is the end of this. I think we're good with that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will answer them for you. Thanks, guys.